The following video is an original short story and set of artwork that I've teased for this channel for a long time. I started developing it on the channel with the Bio-Mech Avatar episode, but this one is all original characters. Now, often in videos, I'll drop myself in partway through a video to split things up a little bit and say something. I don't want to do that with this video. I want to let the story just go all the way through without me jumping in. So right off the top, I'll do the spiel of it is super helpful when people hit the like button because that will get YouTube to push this video out to more people. And if you're not someone who's subscribed already and you realize partway through this video that you're really liking stuff like this, I do lots of other stuff like this with pop culture characters and sometimes original characters. So make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified when videos come out on Fridays and Mondays. But without further ado, it's finally time. Sit back, relax, and enjoy Bio-Mech Kayla. Kayla's breathing was fast and shallow as she stood on the edge of the Bronzezone. She was nervous, but not for the reasons a normal person would be in her situation. The 100th buzz of the evening shook her phone, and she whipped it out of her pocket. It was another in a long string of messages from clients whose work she needed to catch up on. I swear to God, Obie, if I miss any deadlines because of... No, she said, stopping herself. Obie needs you. Go in, get him, and get out. She slipped herself through the surprisingly large hole in the gate, meant to keep people out of the smoggy, warped landscape, and marched on. The distant sound of the city completely faded. They were replaced by low, eerie hums and the occasional distant clanking or shifting of rocks. Many would have taken in the bizarre and fascinating sight that she was very much illegally seeing, but she was too focused. Destroyed buildings and rubble were covered in a deformed and weirdly smooth metal material. Random jags of earth and steel sprung from the ground. 8 months ago, when the explosion had happened, the part of Kayla that had obsessively devoured sci-fi movies and shows as a kid had hoped it had been some kind of wild alien invasion. But since the event, the area had been locked down and nobody had heard anything about it. So Kayla assumed, like most people, that it was just destroyed rubble. Now she couldn't even find joy in exploring it. Her mind battled between two thoughts: her work that she was falling farther and farther behind on every second she was in this place, and her longtime friend, Obie. Kayla climbed up a crumbled wall and looked across the steaming rubble to see one of the few buildings still mostly standing. The Ludmax Corporation Tower was up, and from it sprung steel branches like a bizarre mechanical tree. It was at least 2 miles away. Why do you have to pick a place so far away, Obie? For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine a situation where she didn't even know where in the Bronzezone he was going. If she hadn't, she could have justified not coming in after him and just letting him wander this place alone. It was a cruel thought, but she couldn't help thinking it. And he had told her, or at least their group of friends. See, Kayla and Obie had been very, very close at a time, but she'd seen him less and less over the last few years as she'd started working more and more. She mostly only heard from him in a group chat with their other friends that Kayla never really spoke to anymore. The last time she and Obie had spoken, it was after Obie's boyfriend had dumped him, and he'd been in a terrible place at that time. And since then, on Instagram and Facebook and in their group chat, Kayla had seen all the crazy things Obie had been doing that she assumed was him trying to feel alive again. Skydiving, mountain climbing without a harness, whitewater rafting, constant nights out partying, and doing who knows what else. And now this? Breaking into the Bronzezone with no idea what was actually in here or the consequences of getting caught? She needed to talk to him. This had to stop. Kayla slid down a steel ramp and continued into a jog. She was starting to regret not bringing her rollerblades. The ground was so smooth in parts that it would have made it much faster for her to get to Obie. But that thought was cut off by a sound. More crumbling, shifting rocks in the distance. But this time they seemed to be getting louder. Closer. Kayla wanted to move, but was frozen. The sounds got louder and louder and louder, and then, leaping over a mound of debris, a silver and blue mass of metal flung itself right next to Kayla. She fell back to the ground away from it. A glowing blue lens on the mass shifted and looked towards her. She had no idea what this thing was she was seeing, but it clearly hadn't been the cause of the noise, as that was still fast approaching. She leapt up and tried to run, but as soon as she moved, so did this creature. It thumped against her back and stuck to her. It slid and shifted across her body. She clawed at it and tore at it, trying to pull it away, but the thing spread and spread until it was encasing her arm, her shoulder, and then her head. Blind, Kayla tried to scream but couldn't hear herself. For a moment of pure terror, the world was black, the earth rumbled beneath her, and part of Kayla almost accepted that this was the end, when a voice suddenly echoed through her brain. Wow! This is great! Is this what it's like being bonded to someone? This is crazy! What a rush! I'm Charlie, by the way. I guess I kind of just picked a name off of your Earth internet. You know what? We don't really have time for this, human. Can we get going right now? I know we just met, but can we run? We really should run. We need to run. Let's go. Mech to human, come in human. I know we just met, but I'd really appreciate it if you worked with me here. Are we gonna start running or what? Kayla didn't know if she was going insane or if she had just in fact died, but the whole situation was completely overwhelming, and the rumbling of the earth continued to intensify. Okay, look, I promise I'm not gonna make a habit of this, but we really gotta go, so I'm gonna drive this bus for a little bit. Apologies in advance. The mass of metal shifted from around Kayla's head and arms down onto her legs. She watched as it overtook her lower half, converting her legs into something like that of a robotic werewolf. Without her doing, her legs suddenly sprung up and down. Oh, yeah, you humans are great. You're so adaptable. How fast do you think we're gonna go? Let's find out. Should we find out? Let's get going. But time was up. The wall of rock next to Kayla exploded, and through it charged 3 massive figures. Still stunned, Kayla barely had time to take in the image of what seemed like a series of boulders connected by metal tubes and pipes and wires into some kind of humanoid beasts. Okay, time to go. Try to balance, human, because I can only do so much myself. This is kind of a team effort here. Against her will, Kayla's legs started to sprint at an inhuman speed. Her body flopped around as her legs charged and leapt, springing from boulder to wall with incredible strength, but very little grace. They stumbled along as Kayla tried to keep up with what her legs were doing. They bumped into walls and rolled along the ground. She felt sick from jostling as she finally regained enough composure to say, "Whatever you are, stop, this isn't working." "Oh, you can talk, great, cool. I thought maybe you were like asleep or something, but good to know. We really can't stop right now, but if you do want to take over, by all means, they're your legs. They're kind of our legs because I've spruced them up a little bit, but anyway, here you go." She landed on a ledge next to a clearing and could feel the control returned. She lifted a leg to look at it, to the concern of her new friend. Okay, look, we really don't have time for long looks right now. Those Earth mech guys, they're not as fast as a Bio-Mech like you and me, but they are going to be on us in about 5.7 seconds, so we really gotta go fast right now. Or fight. Which do you want to do? Do you want to fight instead? We can fight, I guess. You humans are kind of a violent species, right? That's kind of your thing. No judgment. My kind can be pretty violent too. They're chasing us to really give us a whopping, so fighting it is. What kind of weapon you want? You want an axe, a sword, a gun? Before Kayla could respond or even think, the pursuing mechs burst into the clearing. Alright, dealer's choice, I guess. I hope you're a good shot, human. The mass of metal shifted up her body once more onto her arm and head. This time it turned into a full helmet with a blue visor, through which Kayla could see very clearly outlined weak points on the joints of the bizarre rock metal beasts. Kayla still had no idea what was going on, but she looked down at her arm and saw it converted into some kind of cannon, and a lifetime's worth of sci-fi movies shot through her brain, ignited her instincts, and she took aim with the cannon. Woo! Kayla's heart thumped with every rapid blast from her cannon. Her aim wasn't great, but even with every 10th shot landing, she was doing pretty well. Wow, human, you're a natural. Look at you go. I knew humans were pretty good with weapons after looking through 10 petabytes of your internet, but I gotta say, rock! A boulder hurtled towards Kayla. She instinctively leapt out of the way and fell off her perch. She hit the ground and her ankle crumpled beneath her. What happened to the bouncy legs? I'm sorry, I can only cover so much of your body at a time, but let me remind you, I was the one content to run. You're the one that wanted to fight. We can fight now, but I think if we're gonna fight— Rock! Another of the beasts had swung its arm and released its limb, sending a boulder straight at Kayla. She ducked under it, and when she sprung back up, her arm had changed again into a different kind of weapon. What's this? Oh, you're gonna like it, human. I promise. One of the best I've got. Only got so much ammo per hour, but it's definitely worth it. Just shoot at them, human. They're gearing up again. Come on. The beast that had hurled its arm was attaching another chunk of debris in its place and was reeling back for another toss. Okay, fine, but you really need to start talking. What's going on here? Who are you? Interrupting herself, Kayla fired the cannon and was nearly knocked backwards. A concussive beam shot at her target, which flew backwards and shattered against a wall. Kayla didn't even realize through the sound that she was laughing ecstatically. Despite the insanity of it all, this was the most fun she'd had in years. Wow, this is so great. I mean, I knew bonding with living beings made us better, but this is so much better than I expected. You are crushing it at this. I mean, they are just an animex or earthmex or whatever. I'm not really used to your language yet, so I don't know what we should call them, but still, this is great stuff. Oh, you have a message, by the way. The headline reads, "More changes required." What's that about? Kayla's smile vanished as her mind jumped back to her nearly due work. Are you in my phone? Well, it's kind of more like your phone is in me. I may have accidentally absorbed it when we merged. Is that bad? Sorry about that, but maybe I can help. You want me to reply to this message for you? No, I want you to... Wait, actually, you can do that? Before they could respond, the whole event was suddenly interrupted by a burst of light and what sounded like a whir of a machine from the distance, coming from the Ludmax tower. A chill ran through Kayla's body. What is that? What's over there? I mean, a bunch of my kind have made a base there, but with an energy surge like that, my guess is that probably someone a lot bigger than me has found a biological being to bond with. I mean, I hope it's someone nice. A lot of us kind of suck, to be honest. What a wild day, though. We see nothing biological for months, and now 2 of us find hosts? What are the chances of that? Obie. Kayla looked at her 2 remaining opponents. She ran straight at them, leapt and slid under one, and fired straight up, shooting the creature 100 feet in the air. She rolled and fired up at the next one, sending it flying across the ground. She sprung back to her feet. I need you to do that thing with my legs again. Alright, on it, can do. You're really getting the hang of this. I mean, a please would be nice, but we'll get there. Okay, here we go. The mass of metal shifted down onto her legs again, once more converting them. Kayla leapt and shot 20 feet into the air. She landed in an awkward roll and thudded against a wall. Ooh, maybe I spoke too soon. Not the best at jumping. Do you want me to be something else? I mean, I have my limits, but I can try anything. No, I'm fine. Wait. Actually, can you become rollerblades? Ha! Can I? I don't know. What are those? Kayla fired across the crumbled metal terrain at incredible speeds as her new ally explained their situation. So, we're from an abandoned metal forging moon from another dimension, and since we scared everyone off of that moon, there's almost never biological beings there for us to merge with. Just inanimate objects, which is such a bore and is really hard for us to maintain and doesn't let us unlock our full strength, so that's why I'm really glad I found you. Anyway, some people had taken to chucking their junk on our moon, and someone dumped a damaged multiversal warp drive there, and I may or may not have merged with it, and then I may or may not have tested it out and caused a multiversal rift explosion, and sent a chunk of our moon here, to your world. Now, a bunch of my kind want to take the warp drive from me so they can use it themselves to go invade other worlds that are a lot cooler than Earth. No offense. Anyway, that's me. What about you? What are you doing here? If she wasn't seeing it all, Kayla had no idea how much she would believe. But given the situation, she took everything in stride. I'm here to save my friend, who's clearly in much more trouble than I thought. Oh yeah, especially if he merged with one of the bigger ones of us, they're no good. Not to be sizist, but big Bio-Mechs are the worst. They're such chads, I think. Am I using that right? Again, still getting used to your language, just picked it up off your internet. Talking to you's definitely helping though, this is gonna be great for me. Oh, you have another message by the way. It's another thing about work that you're doing. You get a lot of these, huh? Oh, I know, I'm gonna fall so far behind because of this insane night. Maybe something in here will just kill me and I won't have to think about it. Wow, is that one of your human jokes? Your kind has a really dark sense of humor. It's gonna take me a while to get used to the— oh no, it is a big one. Kayla slid to a stop and looked up at the hovering mass of metal in front of the Ludmax tower, and right in the center of it, mostly covered, was Obie, with a confused grin on his face. Oh yeah, I know that mech, and they're real bad news. Okay, human, I sort of have a plan involving my warp drive. I think I've got the hang of it. Who really knows, but we're gonna find out. I started charging it, but it's gonna take a couple more minutes, so when I say so, you just have to touch your friend without touching his mech. Got it? She heard the plan, but barely. Obie! Kayla yelled. He suddenly looked down. Wait. Kayla? He hovered down and landed before her. What are you doing here? I came to get you. I want to help you. I mean, I didn't know I'd have to help you with all this, but I promise we're gonna get that thing off you. What are you talking about? This is great. I was just flying a second ago. And what did you think you were gonna come help me with? With getting you out of your funk. You've been acting crazy since Jensen dumped you. The way you're living now, you're gonna get yourself killed. Kayla, what are you talking? Jensen and I broke up months ago. I've been fine. I've been having the time of my life. Sure, it sucked when he dumped me, but I got... Are you serious? I haven't seen you in months, and you thought you were just gonna come here and lecture me about how I'm enjoying my life? Well, Jensen was so important to you. I know if I ever lost my job, I would be devastated, and I'd probably... Yeah, but that's because you don't have anything else, Kayla. You shut out all your friends, and when we try to see you, you always say you're busy working, so we just stopped trying to see you, because it was clearly more important to you than us. Jensen was great, but he wasn't the only thing in my life, unlike you with your work. Kayla froze. Her whole body felt like it was sinking as Obie's words hit her. Human, I don't know what's going on between you two, but you really need to grab him like right now, we're all charged up. But she didn't move. The words just echoed in her mind and paralyzed her. Human, come on, okay, I'm taking over again, I won't make a habit of this, I promise. Kayla's arm flung up and grabbed Obie's head. Hey, what are you doing? She grabbed him, but his mech grabbed her arm. No, human, this isn't good. In an eruption of light, they all vanished. When the light cleared, Kayla, Obie, and the mechs were in a wide clearing surrounded by trees. Obie looked around in confusion. Where? Before he could finish, his body suddenly shifted, creating a massive tank-like cannon in place of his arm. Wait, what are you doing? Against his will, his body shifted and his arm suddenly aimed at Kayla, whose mind was still reeling. Kayla, move! I don't know what's happening! His arm suddenly fired a rocket. Charlie made Kayla leap to the ground, barely ducking the blast. Human, please, come on, you really gotta snap out of this, we gotta move! Is he right? A barrage of gunfire from Obie's mech flew at Kayla, and Charlie clumsily leapt her out of the way. Look, human, I don't know you that well, but what I do know is that tonight you came out to help your friend in spite of whatever work you think you had to be doing. And if you need more stuff in your life, then that's fine, I'm sure you can find it. Heck, I'll be happy to help you with that, but for now, we need to finish what you started. You gotta save your friend. Then, a quaking, rustling in the trees made all of them turn, but they saw nothing. But Obie's mech suddenly melted off him and bolted for the forest, and as the last of him left Obie's body, Obie passed out in a clump on the ground. Huh, Charlie said. Well, that makes things a lot easier for us. But just as they spoke, a booming roar fired through the woods. Okay, maybe not. Springing up from the trees was a massive dragon, now partially coated in Bio-Mech armor. Kayla's haze finally started to fade, and she looked over at Obie on the ground. She couldn't carry him and run. Her only option was to fight. Charlie was right. She had to finish what she started. All right, Charlie, how quickly can you get us out of here with that warp drive thing? Last charge took 2.7 minutes, but I started charging it as soon as we got here, so you just have to hold them off for another 1.4 minutes. She glanced at Obie, then back at the approaching beast. Okay, give me the cannon again. Charlie shifted form. Kayla ran away from Obie, firing at the dragon's head to pull its attention. It snarled in the air and shot a burst of fire straight at her. Shield! Kayla yelled. Charlie shifted into a large shield, barely big enough to block the flame. But then the other mech shifted around on the dragon's jaw, and the fire turned into a beam of orange energy. It rocketed into Kayla and shot her backwards. She rolled across the ground and slammed into a tree. We're gonna get there, human, come on, just a little bit longer! Kayla pulled herself up and ran out of the way of the next blast. The dragon flew up to the area between Obie and Kayla. It flapped in the sky, charging up another blast. A thought flashed through Kayla's mind. How fast can you change forms? In a fraction of a second if I need to, but why? Put a cannon under each of my feet, and when I get close enough, become a sword. Please. Oh, you're fun. Okay, let's see. This probably isn't gonna work, but I hope it does. Charlie shifted to her legs and turned them into rockets. Kayla ignited them and fired off the ground straight at the dragon. Within a foot from the beast, Charlie changed again into a blade, and Kayla used it to slice straight through the dragon's wing. It let out a bellowing cry as it flopped to the side and crashed to the trees. Kayla shot towards the ground. Spring legs, spring legs! Charlie shifted again and Kayla landed with surprising grace. She ran over to Obie. How long? 12 more seconds! But the dragon crashed through the trees again, clambering across the ground toward them. Kayla shifted herself between Obie and the dragon. She put a hand on Obie's leg. Shield! The dragon fired another beam, and Kayla barely managed to hold herself in place. Another second and she would have flown backwards. But the dragon stopped firing. It reeled its head back, then thrust a massive set of fangs towards them. Kayla braced for impact, but an inch from collision, they vanished. In another burst of light, they reappeared in an abandoned building just outside the Bronzezone. Kayla slumped down to the ground next to Obie, panting in an adrenaline-fueled haze. Well, that's one problem solved, I guess. She looked down at Obie. His words from earlier still rang through her brain. She had a lot to consider. But her Bio-Mech was at least right about one thing. Tonight she had put her friend first, even if she was wrong about the help he needed. She tilted her head back against the wall. Thank you, Charlie. No problem, what are friends for, right? We are friends, right? I mean, I know I kind of latched onto you without your permission, which isn't cool. Do you want me to go? I mean, I can go if you really want me to, but I'm kind of getting the feeling that maybe you don't want that? No, she said with a thoughtful grin. In spite of everything, this was kind of fun, and I guess I could use a little bit more fun in my life. And that was just the first of many adventures to come between Kayla and her new— Oh my gosh, you know what I just realized? I'm a Bio-Mech and your name's Kayla, so you know what that makes us combined together? That means that together we're Bio-Mech. Well, there you have it. I've finally made Bio-Mech Kayla. It's like that time I said I was going to make a comic, except I actually did this. And ironically, in a story about a character who works way too much, I spent some pretty crazy hours putting this one together. I mean, it was a lot of fun to make, but again, I would hugely appreciate everyone hitting the like button to make sure YouTube pushes this out a bit more. And I don't like asking people to do this because I don't share a ton of YouTube videos myself that often, but if you do know anyone that you think would enjoy this, I would hugely appreciate it if you sent it over to them and suggested that they give it a look. I'd love to start doing more original character content on this channel, but that's more likely to happen if lots more people watch this video. But no pressure, again, it's not really fair of me to ask people to share stuff when I don't really share tons of videos myself. I really appreciate you watching all the way through the video anyway. I'm considering making a behind the scenes video on this one because there's a ton of stuff that I had to cut from the story to make it a manageable length, and it still ended up being really long, but we'll see how this ends up doing. Anyway, if you are new to the channel, make sure to check out a bunch of my other stuff like this. I turned superheroes into dragons and add lore to that. I've turned pop culture characters into transformers and added stories to that. I do lots of lore and stories and things like this, but with pop culture characters. But besides that, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdiest art videos on YouTube. Thank you again for everyone who watched all the way through. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.